Several years ago, some young educated Muslims rebelled against the powerful Northern People's Congress, convinced it would never lead the North to equality with the other regions in modern progress. They formed NAPU, Northern Elements Progressive Union, and allied with Zeke's party of the Eastern region. This party finds support among the Talakawa, the impoverished peasant masses. Their leader, the frail, dedicated former teacher MALAM AMINU KANO of a prominent family. Campaign issues: breaking the power of the emirs, democratizing the native authority, development for the North.
We have colleges, we have big airports, we have hotels, we have all these civilizing effects in this country. Yet the NTC wants us to continue looking to the past. While we of the NEPU will say we are a party of tomorrow. We believe in tomorrow. We believe in the young children of today. We are prepared to borrow something from the past, but not prepared to go back to the past and then think of the future.
NAPU is poor. Its headquarters in Kano is a hangout for hangers-on. Here, MALAM AMINU holds his meetings, issues orders, writes his speeches. The ruling powers consider him a left-winger and a troublemaker.
Is there any communist problem here in Nigeria?
I do not think of communists in this country. People say, oh, so-and-so is communist, because there's one trouble about our politics here in relation to the British. Any time an African becomes very loud and becomes very extreme against colonialism, then he's branded communist. But you see, even if an African says he's a communist, his only thing is a communist in order to impress the British for independence. Not because he believes in communism or anything of this nature. We don't know it. We are more concerned with hunger and poverty and disease, how to do away with them, than with communism.
This young Muslim maverick has his pet crusade, the emancipation of women. The North is the only region where women do not have the right to vote. So rules Muslim tradition. MALAM AMINU is out to break it. This demonstration is an echo of the women's suffrage era in America, shades of Susan B. Anthony. These women work hard for the NCNC-NAPU Alliance. Many of them belong to the Ibu tribe, some school teachers by profession. They worship their crusading heroes, MALAM AMINU, and their beloved Zeke, whose portrait adorns their dresses. In their simple alphabet pageant, a cross between their tribal ceremonials and a kind of ballad for Nigerians, they talk of Roosevelt's four freedoms.
The four freedoms of common humanity are as much elements as of man's meat, as air and sunlight, bread and salt.
Many Americans have forgotten what the four freedoms are. These people have not.
This time for paradise. This is our time on October 1, 1950. When NCNC and NATO Alliance will usher Nigeria into independence. Say, Zee! Zee! Zee!
You are watching the Freedom Explosion as CBS reports the birth of a new nation through its first popular national election. What H.G. Wells called democracy's ceremonial, its feast, its greatest function. This report will continue immediately after a word from Bell and Howell. We continue with the Freedom Explosion as CBS reports the Nigerian national election and the stormy political campaign as the three major parties fight it out for power. The Action Group, led by Chief Obafemi Awolowo, grim, stubborn, helicopter crusader from the more westernized South, determined to win votes in the hostile northern region. The NCNC, National Council of Nigeria and the Cameroon, led by Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, an old-timer in the African nationalist struggle, but having an uphill fight in this campaign. The Northern People's Congress, led by the Sardauna of Sokoto, tough, proud, religious and political leader of 18 million Northern region Muslims, and his hand-picked candidate for the prime ministership, Alhaji Balewa, a favorite to win, despite the fact he stayed aloof from the campaign. And now to Eric Severide in Lagos, Nigeria.
Those who were slaves so very long, to one another, to West, to Islam, are determined to be their own masters or to founder in the attempt. There is an old African folk story. It tells about the eagle captured very young, raised among chickens with the habits of chickens. It never tried to fly until one day, after repeated goadings, it did. And the African writer, James Agri, adds these words to that story. My people of Africa, we were created in the image of God, but men have made us think that we are chickens, and we still think that we are. But we are eagles. Stretch forth your wings and fly. Don't be content with the food of chickens.
How do you organize a nationwide election where the very concept of nationhood is new to men? Where 80% of the people cannot read or write? Where one village may not understand the speech of another only a few miles away? Where tribalism lives side by side with westernized ways of life? How do you set up the election machinery, collect and count the votes, keep it all efficient, legal, peaceful, honest? A federal elections commission was established. It planned for months. Its chairman, Ronald E. Race, professor of public administration, University College, Ibadan.
Instead of having one big ballot box into which you put a marked ballot paper, you've got to have a different ballot box for every candidate. You've got to assume the chap can't read a ballot paper or make a mark in the right place. And so on the ballot box you put his party symbol.
Well, now, who supervises this and who polices this to make sure there's no fraud?
The fact of the matter is that there are 25,400 polling stations. There are 8,000 Nigerian police. There'll be 6,000 special constables recruited for the day. By and large, we've just got to trust people to behave sensibly, and they probably will. I don't think it's generally realized what a very small handful of policemen this country is governed.
Mr. Race, most people in this country cannot read or write. Why was a decision made to impose no literacy test on voters whatsoever?
Many of these old peasants who will never read or write, they're very shrewd and wise old men. They're very responsible people, heads of families, titles in their local native authorities. And above all, they're the backbone of the country. They produce the groundnuts and the cocoa and the palm oil and the cotton, which makes this country
Well, after all, they've been running their own affairs in their villages for centuries without literacy.
Yes, well, now, you see, to deny a man like that the vote because he can't read or write, and give it to some of the more half-baked undergraduates that I know, for example, who've read a lot of books but haven't got a grain of sense in their heads, it wouldn't be equitable.
The University College of Ibadan in the western region no doubt has its share of half-baked undergraduates, but we also heard good talk among some articulate, well-informed students on Africa and independence.
Think why America and Britain will ought to be disturbed about the situation in Ghana, but not about the situation in South Africa or Central Africa. You see, because there in South Africa you have the same sort of subjection of the individual. And yet, when this issue comes up before the United Nations, either Britain develops cold feet or it consciously does what it has been doing.
I feel that we can condemn both the situation in South Africa, the attitude of some of the Western nations, as well as the situation in Ghana. So that I don't feel that you can conveniently extricate Dr. Nkrumah from blame just because certain atrocities have been performed against the Africans in certain other countries which you mentioned. But I think it is quite clear that there are atrocities in Ghana.
Independence would mean more work, hard work for this country. It would mean a sort of sense of responsibility by the people of the country. You now feel that you are not doing the white man's job, but you are doing your own job. You are serving yourself. You are your own master.
On the international level, independence will mean that Nigeria or a Nigerian will be accepted on the basis of equality with his white counterpart, be he British or French or German or Italian, on the international level.
In this college, if you meet the Ghana students, they're always very snobbish. And they tell you that it's because they have been free and you are still a colonial. They attribute their independence. Because so far we've always done things to please the Englishman.
When I go to Britain, at the moment I'm looked upon as a colonial. And when I make any statement, the feel is tinted with certain colonial mannerisms. But if I go there as one from a sovereign and independent nation, everybody will have to look on me as such and with greater recognition.
Education is a crusade among Nigerians. The war against ignorance is the term they use. A teacher here is a person of high honor and low pay, like nearly everywhere else. Mrs. Felicia Anisik, who teaches any and all subjects to these children, makes about $400 a year.